In terms of the industry, do you think the industry rewards perfectionism or does it reward momentum?
Now we're in the zone. Now this is the area that I like. This is about possibility.
Exactly what you're describing is a kind of perfectionism. You wanted to make sure that you knew the implications of your actions, right? You wanted to know what the end result was going to be before you started it. All right, tribe, if you've been telling yourself you'll submit tomorrow or tape when it's perfect or wait until you just feel ready, this episode is your wake-up call. Because procrastination and perfectionism, they're dream killers. Let's fix it! The Working Actor NYC, that's Patrick Richwood!
I think that's Benjamin Howes. The last time I looked.
This episode of The Working Actor NYC may contain profanity and some adult concepts, so please use your discretion. Where?
That was you, and there's only one, so I know it's you.
Hey, Patrick, today we're going to talk about procrastination and perfectionism. Is this something that you... Oh, Patrick!
Put a pin in it. I'll be right back.
God.
I'm just going to go take a walk.
Is this the Patrick Richwood overload? Is this the moment where it all comes?
The mothership.
Wait, which one is it though? Procrastination or perfection? God, why did we pick such enormous words for this episode?
Procrastination or perfectionism?
Procrastination and perfectionism.
$20 word.
Do you suffer from both of these at different times in your lives, or do they coincide and form a meltdown?
You know, it's a really good question. I've been thinking about it a lot since we talked about it before. For me, they must be interrelated. I haven't quite sorted that out yet. And maybe we'll unpeel some of that, today in our conversation. Like a banana.
Like a banana.
Like a great, big, complicated, scary, I don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about it later, banana.
Let's talk about it later, being the key point. Everybody suffers from these, right? At some point or another, I feel like actors, we struggle with this.
I think there's this weird thing in humanity where you're very unlikely to meet. They're there, but it's so rare when I actually meet a person who is neither suffering from, procrastination, like they look around their life and nothing's working because they've put everything off, or a person like, and many people I know who are like sharks, and if they stop swimming, they'll drown. And so they just keep going until they're exhausted and they collapse into sleep. And then they get up and they, in order to avoid the thoughts of the morning, they just dive in. They've made plans to make sure that they've got a thing to do when they get up.
So here's a question. Do you think that with the explosion of self-tapes in the actor's world, that procrastination has actually become more prevalent? Like we sort of, in a way, procrastinate more now than we used to, because when you had an audition to go to, when you had an appointment time, you had to be ready by then. But now we've got self-tapes where it's like, submit sometime between today and next week.
For me, a big part of this conversation is structure and who imposes it. If there's structure in your life and somebody else has created it, for me, I can go, okay, I got that. Great. I'm supposed to show up at rehearsal at this time. Here I go. I'm ready.
As an actor, I find it delaying the self-tape. As you know, I am on a social media kick at the moment and trying to be very diligent about keeping the momentum going on posting every day. And sometimes the idea will come to me for what the next day's post is going to be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'll think, let me just ruminate on that for a while. And in a way, it's sort of like almost like, so delaying a social media post or preparing for that, that's how it shows up for me.
Okay, that doesn't really count as procrastination, I don't think.
Why?
Because you're actually doing something. You're ruminating on it.
Yes, and
unless you mean is that just a bullshit excuse and you just would rather watch TV? Or
well, that's a good question, actually. Yeah, does not following the immediate impulse and just going for it.
Yeah.
Does that
procrastination? No, I don't think so. I could be like, let me read this play and then do the self-tape, or I might be like, let me read this play and then think about it overnight and see what gets in, and then do this self-tape. And that's thinking about it overnight could occur for some people, especially the ones that really feel like they've got to keep swimming, right? That's just their nature. In fact, you are a person who really likes to keep swimming. it's not so much that you'll drown if you don't have that, I don't feel.
Right.
Like a lot of friends I do, and I think that's because you have a solid personal life
I
that
have
you
my support systems and network. I guess what occurs to me is that I have certainly seen this in friends of mine where the research phase, the rumination phase, the processing phase becomes the phase. Like it just becomes the journey,
the
as
action.
opposed to there's an action at the end of it that I am going to honor and apply myself towards.
Some people, yes, they are in fact procrastinating, but they're not doing it out of some sort of
Fear of
like soft
rejection
psychological
or
thing. It's chemical. They're dealing with depression and they literally cannot pick that thing up.
uh-huh.
It occurs for them as too overwhelming to do. That's
Right.
not mental, that's chemical.
So in delaying the submission, the self-tape, the whatever it is, you and I have learned that for us that means sort of missing the opportunity in a way. The more I put off making the self-tape and submitting it means the further away from me that opportunity gets, right? And I wonder if there's a way to look at a time limit like I want to get this done by tomorrow
Uh-huh.
as a creative limitation, something that actually spurs momentum and spurs creativity, as opposed to something that can be a stressor or a depressor.
Now we're in the zone. Now this is the area that I like. This is about possibility. So
Yeah.
once I get a hold of a possibility that's at the other end of the trail, right? Like that's the
Uh-huh.
pot of gold. All of a sudden I've got energy to that's what I call them get me up out of bed in the middle
Uh-huh.
of, in the early morning to get that done. I'm no longer thinking about, "Oh, I've gotta do this thing," and it's a lot. I don't wanna, that's a valid thing. I mean, you gotta cart shit out and set stuff up and go through and then learn and then call somebody and then, and then send
It's a
the
lot. It's a process. The process is a lot.
and the process is a lot, and not even I'm not talking about the creative process. I'm just talking about the logistics of setting up for a self-tape for most of us is
Absolutely.
tedious.
The system of it is there are a
It's
lot
just
of
tedious.
elements to it. Yeah.
However, for me, I don't find it tedious once I'm doing it. Once it's set up and I'm actually there's a person there and I'm doing well, that's not entirely true. I can still be in a bad mood when I'm doing it because you've seen me that way, and I've seen you that way, where it's like, ugh,
This material
I
or
hate my life. I hate everybody. I hate everything. Somebody find me a woodland creature to strangle. But by then I'm on the ride, and I know I'm on the ride, and I'm gonna do it right. I have decided that there are two types of people in the world.
okay.
There are just do it people, and their
Uh-huh.
paradigm is just do it. What's the problem? It's like my friend says about losing weight, diet and exercise. How thick does the book need to be? Then there's the other people in another paradigm over here with me. And that paradigm is I'd love to if I could. I would. I'd love to if I could. And
Right.
to the people that say, "Have you tried making lists?" I say, "You and the horse you never rode in on." I'm gonna get a no, I haven't thought of that. Oh my god, what a great idea. Why didn't I think of making lists?
I do feel like for a lot of people, fear of rejection or judgment can very well be the reason underlying procrastination and perfectionism. Is
Yeah,
because if you try but you don't succeed in the way that you want to, then somehow you're a failure, right? I understand that psychological thing.
I'm glad you do. I'm not sure that I ever did. Probably in my case, something has replaced possibility at the end of the rainbow. And the thing that's replaced it is definitely something from my past. Not I don't mean like an event, like that's when my father said, "You'll never amount to anything." I mean I mean and he said it just like that too. "Well, son, if there's one thing I've learned as a judge."
Did your did your father ever suffer from elbow like
No,
problems?
I
I
was
mean,
sort of
just the way it was always stuck up in the air like that.
I became an Andy Hardy movie, Judge Hardy. "My son, don't you know that the
I don't
Man,
know what that means.
oh, you know what Andy Hardy movies. Mickey Rooney, come on. Really?
Oh,
Gee, Dad.
I think
I don't
so.
know,
I
should I
think
should
I don't
I
know.
well,
We've
anyway,
gotta we've gotta update our references.
you just need to watch more old movies, that's all. See, that's one of the things I do when I should be doing my taxis. Wonder what's on TCM.
I know I'm procrastinating when the toilet gets cleaned, because if the
That's right.
toilet gets cleaned, it means there's either somebody coming over in 15 minutes or I am avoiding doing something.
That's right,
That's
my
so
friend Jan you know, Jan and I are always saying, "Oh, God, for the kitchen cabinet the screws in the kitchen cabinets have to be cleaned." That's right.
the piles of stuff on my desk get very well defined. Like I can
Exactly.
go
You
through
spend a
them
lot
and then
of time, like,
put them down and
erasing.
then the space is clear and then I can start working on whatever it is I'm supposed to be
That's right.
working on.
Ex Everybody knows that. No, but actually, we've struck on something important, which is, for me, I often have days where there's only one job I have to do, but that job takes me down each step on the journey of that job. Let's say it's a 10-step job. Each
Uh-huh.
step requires I go down a side road to
Right.
collect a piece of information or a thing or an object,
Yeah.
and then trek back up to the main road and then take another step. And now I've got to go that way to get go online. Yeah, and it's really that it does exhaust me. That
Yeah.
exhausts me. Once something shiny that I find exciting
Is dangled in front of you
is
like a
over there
carrot.
and it's directly linked to the my doing the getting this thing done.
Uh-huh.
Like, for instance, every audition,
Yeah.
I'm really gangbusters at in person or on tape auditions when I'm present to the work. I think, "Oh my god, maybe I'll get to work with these people, collaborate with these people. What can I what makes the role mine? How do I" it gets juicy real fast because I'm in this world
Right.
of deliciousness, but it's in thinking about it, evoking it enough is enough to get me, like, out of bed about it, you know what I mean? Like,
Motivated and
that's what gets
moving
me to
forward.
do all the tedium that I've gotta do the thing and shoot the thing and tape the thing to the thing and cover
Right.
the thing and call somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's totally enough for a lot of people to be like, "I just wanna check it off my list," and they get a lot accomplished. It doesn't work
Right.
that way for me, though.
You have to picture the result in a way. You have
I
to
have to be
be
associated
excited
with
by the
something big
result.
picture. Yeah, I have to be
Yeah.
it has to be associated with something that excites me, lights
Yeah.
me up, moves me,
Yeah.
touches me,
Yeah.
inspires me, something.
Something that I was just hearing about, I was listening to a YouTube guy called Pat Flynn, and he talks about lean learning, which is this sort of concept of you don't have to know everything before you start. You can address the first step of something and just learn that as the Kickstarter to get your momentum going. And then the second step, you don't have to know how to do the second step before starting the first
The first
step.
step. That's true, that my sister calls that beginner's mind.
Oh, tell me about that.
Be like a child. Children don't have it that they're supposed to know everything. They have it that they're supposed to be learning. And
Right.
because of that, their minds are open. And then when the next right action happens, you're open and you're like, "Oh, I'll do that. I'll do that next right action. I know what to do." Beginner's mind is what got me through the 4 weeks in Las Cruces where I did have a massive meltdown, but that was, I think, just from personal stress. I think that was just my
Absolutely, but I think also exactly what you're describing is a kind of perfectionism. You wanted to make sure that you knew the implications of your actions, right? You wanted to know what the end result was going to be before you started it. Like that over.
I wanted to know that. I craved to know that, but what I was really terrified of was that I was gonna do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And that did instigate, perfectionism. Now, the whole context for everything I was doing was perfectionism, absolutely. Because what if
Right.
I make a mistake?
That part.
So and that's definitely in under the umbrella, category of perfectionism. And
Yeah.
what other ones are there? I mean, I was just thinking, you know, different people have different kinds of perfectionism. What if I make a mistake? What if this is my last chance is another one,
Oh,
like for
yeah.
actors. What if
Yeah.
this is the last opportunity what if I blow it, will I ever get to be seen by this casting director again?
In terms of the industry, Do you think the industry rewards perfectionism or does it reward momentum?
I think it rewards momentum. That's a great question. I don't think it rewards perfectionism. A, because perfectionism is subjective,
So
and B,
subjective.
because it does seem to be momentum. Because if I look at people's careers, let's say on Broadway, and I see a wide range of different types of people, there are a few things that most of the successful ones, not all of them at all, but most of them have in common. They're fun to work with, or they're enjoy people like working with them. They're
Yeah.
generally kind people. It seems
Yes.
that that's a big-ish thing on Broadway, and not
Yep.
in all aspects of the industry at all, but the Broadway community likes kindness, at least at the actor level. I think it's momentum, not perfectionism, that
I
our
agree.
industry rewards more than anything. I really, really do.
I mean, if you look, I mean, so I just keep going back to social media, like I know what the hell I'm talking about, but it's like showing up with a post every day builds something. And not only does it build something, but I learn along the way rather than showing up on day one with a perfect post that is going to go viral or attract 10,000 subscribers in one go, right? It may well exist and be realistic for some people. It's not realistic for me. So rather than me trying to save all of my knowledge or learn without ever doing it, I just have to learn as I go, doing it. Learn the first step without ever knowing what the second, without necessarily knowing how to do the second step. I just have to start and
Beginner's
I
mind.
can beginner's mind. I like an add on to the knowledge
You
as I
just file
go.
and you go, "What do I do? I don't know. Let me look at the situation. Oh, I
Yeah.
think I'll do this. This is the next right action,
Yeah.
and then this one's the next right action." The key is to not get down on ourselves if we don't hit the mark.
Oh, my God. Yes. I mean, that is absolutely true. My self worth is not tied to
Right.
whether or not this post hits a certain number of likes or views or follows or saves or whatever, right? This is something that I learned from my creativity coaches at the Spark File. We call it B plus work out the door. Done is better than perfect.
I wonder how many of us have that naturally and how many of us have to really drill that.
Well, iteration, like doing something repetitively, is how something becomes a habit. I'm thinking about how did you start with the process of self tapes, and how can you look back on where you started with the process of self taping and where you are with it now and see a difference?
Oh, yeah, but oddly, you're gonna think this is really funny because this is so not you're not ready for this.
Okay,
Oddly,
I'll
it
sit down. Oh
It
wait,
are you sitting down?
no.
It happened re yeah, but what are you sitting on? The question. I
Kevin, get up. Sorry.
Kevin again. I had a very fast exponential learning curve. I would say it took me 3 or 4 times of figuring it out until I was teaching other people how to do it. That's You would not expect that from me because I can get really really frustrated with the technical things that I don't know yet. I get frustrated like, "Ah," as
But
an
you're also a whiz now at editing your tapes, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I was early on too. I that for some reason it might be to do with I just use iMovie and it's easy.
But it is that momentum of tiny wins, you know, of like I learned this, I learned the next. It's like you were just saying about I watch a YouTube video, I pause it, I achieve that. I watch the next bit of the YouTube video, I pause it, and I achieve that. It
Yeah.
is that those tiny wins of mastering the next step and only the next step in order to build the momentum, that rather than waiting for watching the entire video and saying, okay, great, I know how to do it now. I am a master. I have perfected this. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
The next sort of strategy that I wanted to sort of get towards in terms of overcoming or dealing with procrastination and perfectionism is scheduling over mood. And in a way, what this actor that you're talking about did was that he scheduled by day one, I'm going to have all my lines memorized, right? Because then it didn't matter whether he felt like learning his lines or whether something derailed him during the rehearsal process. That was done. So in a way, it sort of like doesn't allow for like schedule over mood doesn't allow for procrastination and perfectionism to derail you from
It
whatever the task
it's
is.
taking the perfectionism gene and using it to your advantage. If perfectionism is driving your art, you're missing out. If perfectionism gets you to do all the work necessary to arrive ready to really play pretend,
Yeah.
who cares that that's how you got
How
there?
you got there.
Who
Yeah.
cares? That's your way of doing it. But if it's driving you straight through the art form,
Oh, if you just want to be perfect for the sake of getting an A plus.
yeah, and there's and our industry and the world, every industry is full of those people.
Right.
They're everywhere, and
Well,
that's
but
fine,
and
but
that's
that's
the
not what
thing. Casting directors keep talking about that in the sense that watching somebody get the material right is not the person who's going to get the job, because that's 90% of the people they watch. It's those people who find the way to make the character believable in a way that only makes sense to them. It's their version of the character. You are literally seeing the essence and the character and the personality of that actor come together in one performance, and that's the person who books the job
That's right, or at least is amongst the people they're
amongst
considering
the
to book
people who
the
are being
job.
considered for
I
the
mean,
job.
and
Yeah.
again, that acting teacher said she had seen writers sit forward at the reading of somebody that completely tapped into the person. They were the wrong sex, the wrong color, the wrong something, the wrong age for what was
Yes.
written, and the writer or the director sat forward and went, "She got it.
Yeah.
She got it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
we're getting I want her or him or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll change all that." That's the person who got what I'm getting at with the
Right.
story.
Have you ever had an accountability partner?
You're one of my accountability partners.
I
'Cause
am.
yeah, you're one of my accountability partners. I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't that you are already doing like, you have done all the technical stuff. You've figured everything out. You've been doing the editing. This microphone is you gave me this to use.
It smells like me, actually, that microphone. Sniff it.
Garlic, pickles, and petroleum jelly. Um, I'm accountable to you, which is why I'm here doing this, because otherwise I would find a million reasons to not do it.
We call it accountability buddies in the Sparkfile world, the creativity coaching world that I'm a little
Accountability,
part of. Accountability
that's
buddies.
that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Accountability is a thing that does absolutely work. You don't have like, "Oh my god, I can't paralyze now." Do you?
Allowing myself to be a beginner is something I'm pretty kind to myself about.
Yeah, see, that's the opposite with me, unless it's creative. If it's anything to do with creative arts or
So
art in
this is really helpful, actually, for what we're talking about, in the sense that in a way it's sort of reframing the narrative, right? That you can look at the steps as progress. Progress is power. Do you know what I mean? Like, rather than the end result is the power. No, the progress is the power.
we're back to momentum.
Casting directors are not looking for perfect. They're looking for your truth. They're not looking for the truth. They're looking for your truth.
That's right.
So being messy along the way, if that's you, great and golden. Like, don't change that. And then the other thing is, like, you don't need to be flawless. You just need to be consistent so that you can build that momentum. It's sort of just reframing these narratives in a way for ourselves.
Consistency is a word that's just come up, and I think it's probably one of the 5 top gold words about how to deal with procrastination and let's set aside perfectionism for a minute. What procrastination really comes down to for me is a sense of overwhelm. The thing that has me procrastinate is that, my sense of overwhelm upstages my sense of what's possible. The task at hand is to use whatever tools I've developed in my long life to shift my attention off of what's overwhelming me and over onto what's possible and delicious.
Right.
I can change my attention and focus it on that, which is exactly what acting is
Yeah.
too, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Shifting your
taking
focus.
my
Yeah.
focus from my life to the now I'm in
Yeah.
this person's shoes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I would love to give our listeners and viewers a mini challenge. Share with us, either do something today that you've been putting off, even if it's messy. get it done, and then tag us at the Working Actor NYC so that we can cheer you on with a "we love it, keep going,"
Yeah.
or share with us your anti-perfection wins. What are things that you have achieved? And what are your ways of working through your perfectionism or procrastination to get shit done?
That's a great one. Actually, that's a great one, and that inspires me.
So our listeners and our viewers, they have a little task ahead of them, a little mini challenge.
A little challenge, not a big challenge, a mini marshmallow challenge.
Share with us and tag us at the Working Actor NYC, or drop it in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. If you've gotten value out of this conversation, hit like, hit subscribe.
Don't wait. Don't procrastinate. Do it now.
Put it up. Do it now.
What's your way to do it? Just take your finger, go like that. Who cares? Whatever. You know what? Just bang it with your fist. Like, hit all the keys. Just hit all of them.